In this vlog, I'll be responding to Surrealism. She is a person who's been in contact with Podlair somewhat over the years, and apparently she's been also viewing us, although not contacting us, and she left a comment on the video I did about criticism towards Podlair and myself. Alright, so Surrealism says, "To be honest, I thought your new reads looked way cleaner." They are way cleaner. This is a consistent theme of those who are wigging out right now, is that if you actually are able to see and focus on that and not on extraneous distracting things, then the case for Podlair is getting stronger and stronger because the reads are getting cleaner and cleaner. But it seems like just the purification process itself and a desire to kind of harpoon me became more important than that data, which is observable and is getting cleaner and better for those who are actually really trying to see it. So yeah, it is getting cleaner. Surrealism says, "I've actually been lurking the forums, testing myself, and I've gotten some answers which you previously said were wrong. You've corrected most of them since." Alright, so this gets back to the fact that there is something there, and those who are actually able to read, we are converging on what the cleaner samples are. So, Surrealism, you've shown yourself to be able to read more than a lot of other people can, and so that is a talent that you should not let go to waste or keep from the world. Now, I'm not telling you what to do in general with your life, do your own thing, but I will just say this: if this is true what you're saying, then I would value any feedback you want to put on the Podlair forum about reread requests, sample reread requests. Because if you are able to see areas that I end up correcting, then perhaps you can see some other areas that perhaps I've missed that may need correcting. I am open to that. I want that. That has always been something that's important to me, and anyone who actually shows the ability to see the phenomenon and to see when we're getting closer or further from it, if they have any talent in this regard, if they're willing to exert effort, which it sounds like you are, then that is very, very beneficial. So do your own thing, but should you have anything else come to your mind that you think, what about this sample, what about that sample, please, by all means, send it my way, and I will definitely take a look at it and see if what's going on there. Surrealism says, "I think there's something to it." Absolutely. There is something to it, and even my detractors grudgingly sort of admit to that as well, and then they kind of just move on to other items they think are more important to talk about when they're the first thing is it real? And since there is a very good possibility that it is real, and then the question is exactly what does it mean, a lot of the conversations going on are a bit pointless and really show that people's, in general, the motivations they state, the higher seeker motivations they state, which is why they go about things, why they're interested in what they're interested in, why they study Podlair, how much they study, how intent they are, how elevated their spirit is largely a crock. Surrealism says, "I don't know if that means there's some intrinsic spirit-forming quality, but qualia might be more based on outer perception than inner nuance." Well, I see your point, and another point I don't. So I will say that, as with the 5 degrees of Podlair practice, that definitely as you get to more what is under the hood and the unconscious and spirit-forming connections and what that may or may not be, that we're getting into realms of greater and greater speculation. Now, so that part, I see what you're saying. Although I feel very strongly about those higher practices, I acknowledge their speculative nature, their increasingly speculative nature. But the idea that it's based on outer perception rather than inner nuance, I would say it's not an either-or proposition. To me, it is obviously, if you can read, which sounds like you can, there is an outer aesthetic quality of categorization, something to do with the looks. But as far as it not having anything to do with inner nuance, no, if anything, I can say that what that inner nuance is gets more speculative, but the idea or premise that there is not inner nuance really doesn't hold water to me, because if you can read, which sounds like you can, then you can see that there are certain mojos or configurations of cues that are showing up in certain relationships and certain careers very repeatedly. And this is done across countries and ethnicities, it's done across age groups and so on. So something that is related to what these cues signify is a very powerful inner nuance. What it is, that obviously is more controversial, up for speculation. But to me, it's, if you can see to the level that you say you can, then that implies, without touching what is under the hood, that this is heavily influencing social alchemies and careers. So groupings of people in general, like friends and romantic partners, and then groupings for careers. For example, like soccer. The fact, like soccer dudes, out of 16 possible configurations, it's mainly Zivi and Jai-V. If you can see that they have that look, regardless of what it means for under the hood, but they have that look, that says to me, Occam's razor, that there is some powerful inner nuance that is causing those of those distinct look to be shown up in soccer. Because what does it matter if you look like you have sheer cheeks or not? Right? Both the Zivi and the Jai-V both have Jai mouth. What difference does that make in playing soccer? Apparently some difference. Apparently, Jai mouth, the sheer cheeks with the Zivi, particularly those two configurations in general, means something, because lots of people want to play soccer. In certain countries, like most of the young boys, would like to grow up and be soccer stars, yet they don't. So something is happening to where those with that look are there. So right there, there's some connection between that look and talent or interest level. Because I don't think soccer, because otherwise, right, Occam's razor, if you can see, which is you say you can, to a degree where there's something to it, okay, so then there is something to these repeating patterns that show up in careers. I don't believe, soccer coaches and team managers and team owners are picking soccer players based on their look. They're basing it on their work ethic, on their talent, on what they can do with the ball. How they are cohesive or not cohesive with the rest of the team. I mean, that's what they base it on, not how they look. Yeah, I mean, they don't really care a lot of times what nationality you come from. You can even be a nationality, it's not even the country of the soccer team in question. Yet, them being Zivi and Jai-V, that shows up a lot, to the point where there's something causing that to happen. And it doesn't make sense that it was just aesthetics. The fact that those who look like Zivi and look like Jai-V keep showing up there at such incredible regularity. To me, Occam's razor, that means there is at least some significant inner nuance that is related to what we're seeing in the physiological cues, although what that is gets more speculative. Surrealism says, honestly, I think it's pretty vindictive that people were waiting around for you to fail. Yeah, agreed. Well, first of all, fail, I know, right? This is a huge breakthrough of some kind relating to the human condition, and the reads are how you do it, and the reads are getting better. So them saying I'm failing mainly seems like I failed to word things correctly, I failed to get it perfect the first time, I failed to be able to get their reading ability up to higher levels that they wanted. But the primary thing that the project has always been about is not failing at all, it's actually getting better, and they have either no ability to even note that, or they actually note there's something there and then move on. Well, by noting there's something there that I have observed, that means we should be inquiring more, not going, don't look at that, stop giving importance. Why? If anything, there should be great excitement of trying to figure out what this is. So, yeah, it's really weird. And the vindictiveness, agreed. And this is a part that they've always had in their spirit, in their being, and this was there throughout all these years, and yet they're complaining about their lack of performance when they have not exerted the effort, they have not put the time in to read these things, to test themselves again and again, daily, and then they are, gleefully vindictive here in these moments. So it's interesting that, it has been said in popular practice, you need to be in a higher elevated state. And the ease and delight with which people are turning vindictive now, I find it quite ironic, humorous, laughable, that they think that they are the kind of quality of seeker that would be able to perform this feat. They were like, we're seekers, but we're not getting the results. Are you? You really think this behavior is the behavior of people who are really doing things for some kind of perceived greater good that they are in service to? No, it's not. This level of vindictiveness is from lowly spirits. That's what this is. This is lowly behavior, and lowly behavior means that you're in a lowly place. And being in a lowly place, it's going to be very hard to see higher insights. Surrealism says, you're trying. You do genuinely believe in your work. Yeah, for sure. This is another one. People are trying to talk about what is there or not, meaning they're trying to read people and say whether or not I'm reading people correctly. It's amazing how many of these people actually are looking at me over the years and are even contemplating the idea that I'm making this up. That I actually am just doing this for, shits and giggles. I'm doing this to troll people. I'm doing this to actually get people to like me and to just pay attention to me. No, I've done things over the years that show, A, I absolutely believe in what I'm doing. Absolutely, I wouldn't do what I'm doing otherwise. And I have routinely made moves regarding people that have kept them at distance, have made them unhappy. And I know that, but that's because that's what the pursuit of the work demands. So I do believe in it, and I believe it is more important than pretty much all the things that people are babbling on about now is less important than this, and I believe that with every fiber of my being. So people can disagree with that. They can think that I'm crazy or whatnot. I don't think I'm crazy. I think I'm quite ahead of my time. But again, people who actually are looking at me and are even contemplating that I would be doing all these things that I've done at the great levels of discomfort that they cause me, the amount of work I put out without really getting a lot of positive feedback, but yet I keep cranking because I am getting positive feedback. To me, the data is telling me you're getting cleaner, you're getting there, you're solving the riddle. Keep going. So anyone who actually thinks that you're looking at this cat and I don't believe in what I'm doing, you are laughable. I am righteously dismissive of your opinions on, like, well, when I read people, I think this, and maybe there's nothing there. Maybe it's made up. Maybe faces just look like that. Oh yeah, maybe this guy doesn't believe in what he's doing. If you believe that, you're stupid. I don't know if you were just born that stupid or if you actually are so possessed by lowly influences you are now in such a stupid state, but that is stupid. And that is directly related to being able to read a person. So reading me, and I'm making this up. Yeah, I've just been method acting this shit for like all these years. All the different things that have come my way that have made my life way easier and I didn't take them, yeah, that's because I'm just really bad at, I guess I just didn't want to have advantages. People offered me to water down stuff and they would join my group and expand my numbers notably. I'm like, nope. We're like, why? We need to research together. We're like, well, we're more interested in what we can like leverage with it. I'm like, see, that's the problem. I don't want to leverage until I actually know what's going on. First we have to know what's going on. That's the main thing. We all need to get together and figure out what's going on. Right here, is this faking? No, it's not. This is what I believe. And again, if you can't read that this person, maybe I'm crazy, I'm not. Maybe I'm an asshole, I don't think so. But fine, you can think those things. Maybe there's some kind of like case you can make, but there's no case for anyone who has a brain that I'm actually making this up. There's nothing in the way I'm talking now, nothing in the way I've done for years, the amount of work I've put in, the amount of slings and arrows I've taken, nothing makes sense if you think that, other than it's convenient. It is a convenient thought to dismiss me. And so I'm seeing a lot of that in people where they're just taking mental conveniences in order to actually avoid things that they want to avoid. That's their problem. But yeah, long story short, yes, I absolutely believe in what I'm doing. And anyone who doesn't believe at least that much about me, your opinions on what people are, aren't, and what's going on with their faces, and if they're being authentic or not, you're useless. Surrealism says, there are societal standards on how to present your work, and that sucks. Yeah, it does. But there's not actually societal standards. There's actually standards for seekers. The issue is combining those, and that was my error. My error in trying to combine the rigorous work of tracking this phenomenon and what it takes to be a tracker in this way, and then presenting to people in ways that made them feel good and was palatable for them and would get them to go forward and wouldn't actually, daunt them too much. So there isn't actually societal standards for truth research. You just have to do it, find the answers, and be able to write it down and put it in some form that at some point in the future, some humans or some machine can verify that you got right. But if you're looking for consensus, if you're looking for a movement to grow, then yes, there are societal standards to that, and that is something I've had to let go, which is painful because I would like to actually have more of the world know about this. I'd like to have more people involved, but the price is too great. The price is far too great to justify that. Surrealism says, you want maximum impact, but it got careless. Depends on what you mean by careless. It's not careless in that I'm putting it forward with what I believe to be the best approximation of what I'm seeing in words and images. So that part is not careless. It has actually gotten more careful over the years. I've become more restrained and more skillful in what I'm doing. But careless in merging the strict, rigorous pursuit of this discovery with trying to share with people and kind of the concessions and compromises that need to be made, for those societal standards you mentioned. Yeah, that was careless of me. That was careless. It was sloppy. It was weak. It was needy. It was one of a variety of insecurities that I have to deal with, and I let that make my decisions erroneous, and I take responsibility for that. What else is careless? Well, you could say perhaps it was careless to put out my reads and then do the purification process of them publicly. I disagree with that. Well, I agree, I disagree. I disagree in the higher general sense because this needs to go out, and in the future, this discovery is so incredible, it's going to dwarf everything done by anyone else representing any other model. They're going to try, this is going to go beyond science. If you can see this and where this is going, they're going to try and deify me. That's what's happened. If you study history, people have had these kinds of breakthroughs related to the human condition. They're going to try and deify me, and I don't want that. I'm a human. I'm an exceptional human, but I'm also a flawed human. And I want that all to be out there. Also, the trajectory and the lessons learned I've done over the years, they're useful for people. So one, they can see that I'm just a human. Also, they can see the steps I went through to get here. People want to know that. And then when they work cases in the future that are daunting for them, they can go back and look at this guy who was the best at his time at doing it and see what were the pitfalls he went through, what were the lessons learned that he did, how did he learn that he was off, how did he get through that, what did he use that knowledge for going forward. That's useful for them. So that is not careless. That is actually, to me, transparency. That is due diligence. That is transparency. That is being authentic. Now, when I was still connecting, trying to get acceptance and the rigorous pursuit, that was careless. Although it wasn't totally careless in that I did keep knowing that there was going to be a problem. I wasn't sure how many were going to make it. I thought more than this. Some people protested they were real seekers and they really had fortitude in this manner, but it ended up not being the case. But from that point of view, yes, I recognized early on that they were getting quite rattled with the purifications. And you could say I was careless, I was reckless, I was unconcerned. You could say in a nobler sense that I, despite really wanting that to be the case, wanting to have that connection, that my pure purpose kept pushing me forward. So perhaps heedless is maybe the better word. I knew that was a problem. I knew there would be fallout at some point. I knew some of them weren't going to make it because they were already wigging out so much despite saying they weren't. And I kept doing it anyway. And several times, I talked with Jailene and so forth and spirits, and I'm like, oh, I have to put this out, but I don't know if there... Many times I said, this last purification, this might be the one. Many times I had that thought to myself, my spirits and Jailene are like, this might be the last purification. This might be the one that does them in, or at least a bunch of them. And I pushed on. I continued to do that. So I was heedless of that. But I don't think it counts as careless, except during the period, which was for many years, and I acknowledge that. I was, again, I don't know if careless is the right word. I had dissonance. There was dissonance of how careless that was with their emotional state, with their ability to handle it, with their fragile psyches. I was careless, reckless, but I really think the proper word is heedless because of two things. I kept doing it when it was the correct thing to do. And I'm in a better state now. I can ignore their thoughts on that in general unless they want to talk like you did. We're actually talking about viewing the samples because that's the only real conversation to have. But I'll take the moniker careless because I was careless in conceptualizing that to begin with. And therefore, I took a lot of hits with the community and letting people down and so forth that came from that careless conceptualizing. So on that, I'm going to shift it to more how I approached and how I thought it up, and that was careless and sloppy and weak, and I take ownership for my failings in that regard. But the actual practice of what I did going out, I don't think that was actually careless. That was actually me fitfully still actually holding to my higher goals despite not getting the responses from the community that was making me feel like they were going to be able to handle this all the way. Surrealism says people can be ravenous. Yes, that's one thing I really noticed with this fallout, is that there is a lot of built up fear and anger and thirstiness that people have throughout their lives, and then when they see a chance to chomp on anything, they chomp on that. And I realize now that a lot of these people were sort of feeding off my confidence. And so when my confidence comes and goes in waves as I move myself forward, right? Sometimes they're rougher, sometimes they're smoother, and I feel that accordingly. They were using that more than what I told them to do, which is learn to see it for yourself. Because that's where all the confidence comes from. Otherwise, you're like feeding off of me. And when I can't give you your fix, I can't give you confidence that you need right now, you lash out. I'm hungry, I need my precious. I mean, that's kind of what is going on here, and it's quite sad. Surrealism says, but you've got to be more strategic than just free blogging and putting your videos out there to be used against you. Again, yes and no. Overall, no, this is not true, because what I'm free vlogging is pretty much what many scientists and explorers have done throughout history, and actually psychedelic people and spiritualists, the shamanic traditions. I'm simply chronicling my journeys. Now, when that was connected with people in the community actually still accepting me, still actually having confidence and so forth, then that's not strategic. Giving ammunition for people that don't like me, Typology Town or whatever, to actually then use that on the community to wear down their confidence. That was not strategic. Agreed. But that was based on the bad strategy of trying to actually bring these people along for the ride at all, trying to carry these people up higher with me at all. That was careless. That was not strategic. But me climbing up like I am and documenting it for public record, no, that is highly strategic, because I'm playing for the future humans. So that's all that matters to me, the future humans. And in the future, they're going to look back and see my videos, see my writings, and try to assess me. And it's all on public record. So, for example, to be used against me, I don't see how it has been used against me. All of Typology Town is mocking me. They're all stupid. As you've seen yourself, there's something to it, and they're saying that there isn't, or at least nothing really worth even bothering looking at. Okay, they're all stupid, and they're on record for being stupid. So strategically speaking, this is quite good for me. Just like I took on Typology Town back in the day, but I haven't bothered for years because they don't do anything worthwhile. But the initial volley was worthwhile. People might say that wasn't worthwhile because they end up just talking trash about you for years. So was that strategically a good idea? Yes. They're branding themselves publicly with stupid. They're saying, I don't have anything. There's nothing to it. Yes, there is. So they're actually giving me my kill shot on their stupid. Same with the community now. You could say strategically this didn't work out well because the community fell apart. I would disagree. Actually, this is getting better strategically because I don't have to deal with them anymore. In fact, I was previously under a more faulty strategy of trying to combine the elements, rigorous pursuit of the discovery and trying to actually get some sort of societal acceptance even among a few supposed seekers. Now, I don't have to do that, and that's a better strategy. In fact, this fallout has broken me of a strategy that was wrong and was actually conflicting energies. There was two opposing forces there I was trying to keep together and move forward, and that wasn't possible. So the strategy is cleaner now. And all these people that are saying what they're saying, they're just announcing they're stupid too. Saying they can't see it, or it's only this thing, or, oh yeah, I mean, it may be something to do with, human qualia, but whatever. Okay, so they're actually announcing themselves. In warfare, which is what this is now, this is a war of ideas. This is a war of confidence. This is a war of proof of concept. This is a war of who is right and who is wrong. So strategically, I should have cut these people off sooner. As you said, they're ravenous. As you said, they are vindictive. So actually, you're right, and there's a strategy issue, but actually it's not that this is wrong going forward. I actually should have actually cut bait a long time ago. I'm slow to let go of relationships. It's why I have to watch out for them, because I tend to bond. I'm a very sensitive person. And I've had a hard life, and a lot of times things aren't helpful to me, so when a person gives me a spot of kindness, I tend to weigh that heavily, too heavily. So my ideas cannot be used against me. My videos cannot be used against me. These samples that are out there cannot be used against me unless I got them wrong. But the idea that things around that can be attacked, they can't, or that I thought I had something right but I was wrong and then I said so publicly. For the future humans, that all plays to my favor. One, this guy is way ahead of his time, and he did a good job of documenting his journey and didn't really give a shit about, the baying of sheep that is going on around him. Surrealism says, lastly, I do think there needs to be a bigger dose of humility. All right. I've heard that a lot, and perhaps you could take a look at the video I did talking about proper ego. I'm curious what bigger dose you're talking about. If you're talking about I misjudged people's ability levels, yeah, and I have to be humble about that. I fucked up. Misjudging how quickly this would roll out, yep, misjudged that. That's on me. That's my bad. So boo, bad me. Okay. Let's see. People. I did not recognize the fragility of their psyches, and then even when I did recognize it to a degree, I pushed on anyway. I should have just cut bait with them before pushing on, but I wanted to push on towards the higher data and keep that community contact to some degree. That was wrong. That was me trying to have too much. That was me not accepting the reality that I was not going to be able to get both those. I was going to have to sell out to get the one, or I was going to have to cut out to get the other. I should have cut out and gotten the other. I didn't. I kept going forward, heedless of how it was affecting some people to some degree, and I shouldn't have done that. I was wrong from just a higher purpose going forward, and I should have actually just respected these people's autonomy enough to just tell them, you can't hang. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to be mean to them, and also I didn't want to lose what little affection I had in the world. So, bad on me. What else? I have a long way to go still to figure things out. So I'm humble in my place in getting this figured out. I am humbled by how I behaved early on when I was so needy of people's attention. Things to do with like just accepting behaviors around me, and also in trying to keep people close to me, just wanting to have them close, wanting to have some kind of friendly energy around me while I do this journey. It was needy, it was wrong, it was weak, it was insecure, it was thirsty. Okay, so these are a lot of things that I'm admitting I did wrong, and I'm not going to dodge those. I did those wrong, and they need to be worked on. The areas that I'm getting leaned on, though, I notice are not those areas, because just like purification, I'm humble when I purify. I'm saying I got the wrong answers, and I usually go into some detail of how I was stupid, like what kind of lesser influence had a hold on me, and then I finally got past it. So I'm admitting a lot of being possessed by influences and getting by them eventually, but often, they got me and they held me for too long. Oh, bad, 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 bad. Okay, so I do take hits. I do take when I'm wrong, and I say I'm wrong, and I don't really try to dodge the wrongness or the low feelings it gives me about myself. I take that, I walk through it, I process it is what it is. Now, 3 areas that I think a lot of people are meaning, and I'm wondering if you mean this as well, because I can't agree to this. Number 1, we'll call them the 3 B's. B number 1, my belief. I believe in this. I do with every fiber of my being. And something I've been told throughout my life, in many areas where I was outperforming people, whether it be just charming at a party or figuring out some sort of situational thing or doing well on some sort of IQ test or whatever it is, I have a lot of self-belief, and I've been told I should tone my self-belief down, and almost always this is done by people who have way less abilities or not able to do what I can do or believe I can do. And often I believe I can do something, people say, no, you can't, and then I go ahead and do it. And so I have a lot of validation that my belief in myself is higher than what people think it should be, but it's not, because I use it to do things they didn't think I could do. So their sense of belief in myself or what's going on in the world or my relation to it is generally off. So I am not going to be humbled in my belief when, as you said yourself, the reeds are cleaner, and that's what everything is based on. So my belief is stronger, and there is an ego to that, and there is going to be a lack of humility in believing what I believe. I've actually been too humble in that. I've been humbling myself, stooping myself in that regard because other people didn't have strong enough abilities to have that kind of confidence, and my confidence like that, as people have said, like, oh, thank goodness you're not as audacious as you were before. No, I should be more audacious. If this is really here, which you say you believe it is too, and the samples are getting cleaner, which you say you believe they are too, I should be more audacious, not less. Next, I have lots of flaws as a human. I have a long way to go, made plenty of mistakes, and I'm going to make more mistakes going forward. However, I am better at doing this than I was before, and was already an exceptional ability. The fact that I was able to see this at all, to visually see some sort of fabric of human qualia at all years ago, put me as the advanced person working this case. And despite the purifications wigging people out, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting better at what I do. I do not feel humility for being the best at what I do years ago, and then I've gotten better at a very ambitious pace since then and plan to continue to do so. So my past performance, where I've come to now and where I'm headed, all make me the best at this job. A lot of people want me to be more humble about that. No, because if I am, that's going to mess up the grading system, the rating system. It is what it is. I'm operating at the highest standard right now, and I'm improving that standard, and I intend to keep doing so. That's something to be proud of. I can be humble in that I wish I'd made this discovery. Yeah, this discovery that is actually something significant in some way, yeah, I wish I'd made it sooner. I wish I'd actually piped up about it sooner. I wish I had my thoughts organized sooner. I wish that my reads had been cleaner sooner. Yeah, but everything I just mentioned was a first. It was important work to be done in some degree, and I was first to do it. And I was first to the next, and the next. And it looks like most of you people are just going to drop off the trail, so I will definitely be making all the firsts going forward. What is there to be humble about that? Actually, if you know anything about elite performance in athletics or anything else, know you need to have a very high level of proper belief in what you're doing, and then a recognition of where you are. Harsh on yourself when you're not where you want to be, but also recognizing what you can do. That's my skill set. I have that value. I am not being given proper value. That's a fact. Okay? I'm being challenged on how much I believe. I'm being challenged on me giving myself proper value. Perhaps this has to do with the thing I won't step away from, which is this is the greatest discovery in the history of humans. I believe it to be so. I believe that to be so. So if someone can show me where that's wrong through a better use of lens, a better use of, for example, like Surrealism, if you or anyone else actually wants to make your collection of 30,000 plus people and organize it, I would love to look at it. Yeah, unlike other people like, oh, how many samples? No, I'd be all over that, seeing what you can do, seeing if I might teach you something, see if I didn't miss something. But until then, the situation is what it is. All right, so and the last one of the 3 Bs is the fact that I treat some people as being beneath me. Well, I don't think they're beneath me just in general, necessarily, but definitely when it comes to pursuing this. And their comments, their statements, their assertions, their speculations, blah, 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 it's based on very weak performance. And that's beneath me to consider. I'm not going... You know, people always do that, like, have you looked into this? Have you looked into that? Why? Okay, Surrealism, you say you can see it. You say it's significant, probably. And you say that you think it's getting cleaner. Okay, then... until I hear another person in some model saying the same thing, and then they're going to contest what the answers are, then I'll get into that. But otherwise, it's beneath me, and I've been stooping for far too long dealing with people in that regard. So, again, as you can see here, there are many things I am humble about, I am ashamed about, I am embarrassed about, but I've stated them. Here it is, on camera. Go ahead, world, do what you want with it. I don't really care. I care what the future humans think. But then the other things, I don't think I can have my ego drop. In fact, I think it has to go larger. And I don't really see any good reason to think otherwise. So if I believe it to be the greatest discovery in the history of humans, I would be dishonest. People accuse me of being dishonest. No, it would be dishonest for me to say I don't think it's the greatest discovery in the history of humans when that is what I believe it to be. And what's the other one? I'm a mega genius. Okay. I believe that to be the case too. I believe it also to be important for people to understand that. I don't really need anyone else to agree to that. I don't need anyone else to agree that this is the most important discovery. All I need is, for me, is to see it, pursue it, get better at it, pass it down to future generations. All I need from other people is if they actually want to engage in the case like actual caseworkers, actual detectives, actual trackers. Otherwise, it's beneath me. It is a waste of my time, and it is something I cannot in good conscience indulge in anymore because I owe what I'm doing to humanity, to nature. Give me these gifts, and nature, the species of humanity, that's who I owe myself to. And when you do like species mind, you have to be thinking future. Where is the species going in the future? What are you doing to help the future of the species? And in that regard, yes, the vast majority of humans are beneath me. Definitely when it comes to tracking human qualia, and as you've noticed yourself, most of them just on just normal stuff, being vindictive, being petty, being thirsty, yada, yada, yada. They're doing lesser things for lesser reasons. It is a proper ego to consider that beneath you and conduct yourself accordingly. So I'm humble in lots of ways. I'm going to have to humble myself a lot going forward, but there are certain ways, those 3 I just named, I do not see any good reason to lessen the ego there. But in fact, to shed improper things I was attached to, improper egos, like, ooh, my community's this big, or my community's this, my community likes me. That was an improper ego. I should drop that, and I need to be humble now that that was a serious fuck up. That was. Bad me. Bad me. I was wrong. Do better. These things I mentioned about my ego in my belief, my ego in how better I am at doing what I'm doing to other people, and my ego at considering those that are beneath me. Those are staying and going to be stronger than ever, and there is no other way it should be. It would make no sense.